Welcome to the 30 Rock Live Show on NBC. Special unity, did you know that the 30 Rock Live Show comes from NYC? 5, 4, 3, 2, they rehearse and liberals want to destroy America.
Yeah, mic check, 1, 2. They see me rolling, they hating, patrolling, they trying to kiss me. Rum and nerdy, kiss me 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 rum and nerdy. They're taking the Hobbit's toys and guns. They're taking the Hobbit's toys and guns.
Whenever I'm about to do something, I think, would an idiot do that? And if they would, I do not do that thing.
You wanna play? I'll play. They hoping that they gon' kiss me rum and nerdy, 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 kiss me rum and nerdy. This is the way. Ready program. Let's go.
Hey everybody, welcome to Rum and Nerdy. I'm Greg.
And I'm Garrick.
And this is episode 3.30. This year's already flying by. I can't believe it's this late.
We're practically almost done.
Practically. And this and actually it's going to be really difficult for us to record over the next couple of weeks because as far as conferences go, like this time of year is nuts. Slammed. And then like we talked, but we pre-recorded some stuff because I was in LA, and now I got to go back again next week. So see some friends and network,
maybe work.
Yeah, but outside of all that, we have a special guest, a new guest. We have not had you on. This is Brian from Kansas City with Populous.
Hi, Brian.
Yep. Hey, everyone.
So interesting. I've been communicating with you. We talk a lot about TEA. As you're a listener, you know, so we talk about a lot of TEA, and we've been talking about the state conference. Populous has become a sponsor. You guys are local to Kansas City. But there's an interesting connection. As we've interacted, you and I are connected because we went to the same high school.
That's right. And, you know, that is a cool connection. And, in fact, one of the other things that's interesting, you're a big Ted Lasso fan.
I am?
Yeah. And Jason Sudeikis actually is a friend of mine as well, which is I haven't actually told you that, which is kind of cool. So one of my buddies went to Shawnee Mission West and was in the same class as Jason, and so we became mutual friends. And it was kind of cool when we went over to Crystal Palace and we got to see all the sites when we visited the grounds where a lot of the scenes are filmed.
Yeah,
it was really, really, really fun. But amazing guy, and another Kansas City connection.
How have you been hanging out all day and that not
I had
come
to
up?
hold on to that because I knew we were going to do a podcast, right?
And you knew that you were going to hit me on the air, so
I had no idea. I saw the sign, and I just assumed,
at work, I've got the Believe poster above my door in my
absolutely.
office. And actually, it was funny because we actually talked about Ted Lasso earlier today. Dear listeners, we went, you're here and we're kind of talking about doing work together possibly in the future. So in the night we got the tour of the shop and all that. And then we went to Universal because, I am very blessed to have this wonderful pass that we get as a sponsor for the Universal Orlando Foundation.
It's good for everything except keeping the rain away.
Yeah, I couldn't help that. But of course, what did we do? We went to Mythos and we were having conversations. And specifically, we were having a conversation about how people in Kansas, like how we are. And how, like, we try and be like, cool. Even when we're jerks, we're still like, screw you. But no, really, what do you need? And how much we appreciate the fact that Ted Lasso is a caricature of what people from our home is like.
Yeah.
And we can tell that story, but you're like, yeah, I know Jason Sudeikis.
It was funny though because we had dinner last night at the event and it was fantastic, and we were sitting there kind of commiserating a little bit about our backgrounds, and you were talking about like we like to hire engineers from K-State, and that's where I went to school. So I was an architecture program, right? and the one of the things you mentioned was just like we always hire the architectural engineers from K-State, and I was like, you know what, that's so cool because that's pretty much what we do too.
Yeah.
We spread our wings and we hire people from all over. But there is an aspect of like the way that there's a Midwestern mentality to rolling up your sleeves and working. And kids that come out of the into the workforce, that have been sort of from humble roots. Honestly, there's an aspect to that we find, in the sort of Midwestern values, whatever those may be. And the sort of things that Jason sort of crafted that character around in Ted Lasso is really genuine. It really is.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
And you're really good, honest people that are hardworking and super smart and intelligent and good at what they do.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. No.
That's so funny. And you went to Kansas State, so one of our alumni about the same time as you went there, Eric Stone Street from.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So I did. When I was at Kansas State, I was the assistant stage manager, and ultimately the last couple shows stepped up to stage manager when we did the show All My Sons that had him in it. So I actually
That's
know
awesome.
I know Eric as well. And then our good friend that I'd mentioned lives in Nashville, went to Shawnee Mission East, and he went to Shawnee Mission East with David Dashmushin, who was the polka dot man from the Suicide Squad movies, and he was like
He was in Dark Knight. He played one of the Arkham guys.
Oh, there you go. Cool.
He's in the Dune series now.
yeah, and yeah, he was like
Well, he was in
one of the Mentats.
He was in the Oppenheimer, like we just talked about.
Was he?
Yeah.
And also current movie trailer out, the new last whatever of some ship. It's about the ship that was supposed to be transporting Dracula
Yeah, yep.
from Transylvania to London. And so he's in that movie. So his career's taken off, but he went to Shawnee Mission East.
It has. Yeah.
Wow.
He's one of the new generations of that guy.
Yeah. And then of course Ant-Man is also from that as well. So there's a pretty good lineage of current really really good movie stars that are all from
And it was like
that world.
all that era for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Sort of in reality, like, Stone Street, he was a couple of years older than I was, and when he was at K-State. But yeah, it was like funny, just that era in the mid to late 90s. There was like a lot of these guys that came out, and
That's awesome.
for whatever reason, and the SNL connection was really hot there for a while as well. But anyway, there you go, Kansas City. It's like,
and it's
Paris of
funny
the Plains
'cause-
is what they call it.
and then folks like you and I, who again, I'm not going to pretend that I'm one of these superstars, but I am successful in my own right within the themed entertainment world, and have worked in film and television, and I've got an IMDb page and all that stuff.
You're basically Jason Sudeikis.
I'm no, not even remotely close. But like
Salmon-esque.
we know other people in the industry. You are not the only person I know from Northwest. Oh, crap, I said it. I'm just going to let it go. Whatever. You're not the only person from that high school that has succeeded in our industry. There is a person who graduated about 6 years prior to me that currently like runs a museum in the Midwest.
Yeah.
And was a producer with me at Universal Creative on Beijing. And so there's a few of us that kind of has succeeded in that industry, and we're all within that. As you said, there's like this window of time where Kansas City just produced some people that went on and succeeded in the business.
It's interesting too when you talk about these sort of critical moments though that influence your trajectory as a career. And we were talking in the car about the architectural drafting class that we took in high school, and that was really influential for me.
Yeah.
And I remember taking that class as a sophomore or junior. I can't recall which year it was, but we were talking about like, learning how to draw on Mylar, learning how to create models out of basswood.
Yeah.
And for me, that was like what crystallized in my mind that like, that's what I wanted to do. Like I always knew it, like as a kid growing up, I loved Legos. I loved to draw, I was always right brained. I was always highly creative, imaginative, but I never really quite knew what I wanted to do until I took that course.
Yeah.
And it was sort of like that seminal kind of like moment that I was like, okay, I want to do that professionally. And you had the same, you had the same experience. There you go.
Look in that box.
And so, so this is like, it's interesting to see like, what are the things that kind of influence? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Right. And the drafting tools and the things that you learn, and you're mentioning engineering, fair in Hayes,
Yep.
Kansas. I did all those things too, and
How
it was.
did we not know
I
each
know, but it is incredible. Like you've gone on and been, super successful in your own right, with a different type of, aspect of themed entertainment, and I have as well. But it is again, it's amazing when you look back at those critical sort of steps that sort of lead you along the way. Because I don't know that I would have done that if I hadn't had that experience.
Yeah, and and you hear people even back in the day. I like as we moved away from the school that we went to, as we met other people, like I didn't know anybody else that had a robust 4-year drafting program that taught. Like I learned CAD in that class, CAD version 2.
Wow.
And it's
I think
like,
even I started with 10.
yeah, and it's like, oh, okay,
DOS.
so and I remember like you had to do it, like that was an assignment. You had to do a full schematic drawing for some mechanical element in
Yeah.
CAD. And
But that was always the level up. You had to start with paper, so you
Yeah.
really had an appreciation
line
for
weights and all that.
well, but how it goes together, and you had to paper. You had to plan out your next move. You had to think ahead.
Yeah.
I think, and then you moved into CAD, so you could appreciate the CAD more because you knew what it had to be going into it. But I think sometimes computers make you lazy because you have the ability to do it 3 or 4 times, mess up, delete, go back, redo it.
Yeah.
Versus that the paper mentality. But no, I have to think what this is going to be before you get into it.
Sure. It was a different time, and you learned it in a different way. But yeah, it's incredible how those little things influenced us, and just so lucky to to be in that school and everything, and even like the drama teacher who, to this day, I will still periodically touch base. And I always thought throughout my career, and I really don't work in film and television anymore, but I always thought, like, if I ever won an Oscar, like, what would I do? And I would take as my guest to the Oscars, I would take, Miss Rogers, my old theater teacher.
Yeah.
And she's retired now and everything else, but it'd be like, cool. Because I always remember every night before the show would go on, the whole cast and crew and everybody, we'd stand in a big circle, we'd hold hand, and she'd say, the theater's magic and blessed are the people that make that magic. And I've always figured if I ever won some major award, that's what I would say. No matter what, I would go up and I would say, the theater's magic and blessed are the people that make that magic, because of those influences. And it's we had a very unique opportunity.
Yeah, and I think that there are aspects that I look back to, and in whether or not it was like I had a lot of great teachers. Ron was one of them, on the drafting side. But I'd say too, it's funny when you look back. So I was another nugget, classically trained pianist, right? Took 12 years, right?
Nice.
And like but I look back at those moments, right? Like when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really young, 2nd, 3rd grade, recitals for the first time. But, the things that I learned, that taught me like sort of how to like get in front of an audience, like and perform, like those are the sort of things that carried with me, throughout my life. And it's amazing when you have those sort of experiences. What are those sort of indelible teaching moments that you remember? And a piano teacher like that, she probably taught 500 kids.
Yeah.
Right. She would, I'm sure remembered, me, in certain ways. But it's funny, like when you look back at that and like, what are those sort of things that you sort of take from that moment? And she, definitely, left that impression.
I always think about that. Like, how much do teachers remember of each one of their students, of you in particular? Are there any students that really stand out in their mind? My wife is a teacher. I got to imagine that she remembers a lot of them, but there's a handful that she'll look back and be like, oh yeah. One of her students was recently drafted by the Chicago Bears.
That's pretty cool.
And she's like, yeah, that kid, all he did was talk about football. That's all he talked about. All he did. That's all his college was focused on. And yeah, look at that. He made it.
So Greg's in a yearbook over here. What's going on with this?
Class of 93. In theory, you should be in here.
Remember back when all of the yearbook photos were black and white?
Yeah. Juniors.
Dusting it off.
Right? And it's funny because we were at an event last night, and one of our friends, Christina, was like, "So you've got yearbooks with Greg in it. You can send me pictures." And she thought I was going to be like, no, don't do it. And I'm like, this morning I got up, pulled this out, took pictures, and sent it to her. And she's like, very anticlimactic when it comes from you.
I'm just impressed that you have it. Like,
Oh, I don't. This is my wife.
You don't have your high school yearbook photo?
I don't know. I have it around here somewhere.
God.
I don't know.
Well, as everybody knows, all of the best podcasts start with historical research done live on the air.
No, I looked up my stuff. I can point to my stuff. I just didn't look you up.
Just going into the archives.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing.
Whatever. So,
It's all fun and games until Greg starts looking at pages of high school photos.
hey, don't hate. I'll kick you in the butt. Jerk face. So, one of the things, like you and I talked, you're more of a bourbon drinker.
I am.
So, as one of the things that we do when we have new friends and we want to take them through what is all things rum, one of the things that we will do is we'll do a rum tasting because, saying you don't like rum is like saying you don't like wine. There are so many different kinds of wine. It's like saying, I don't really like soda because I don't like Coke. Hold on. Don't like Pepsi. Sorry, I don't want to disparage Coke. We've had this conversation. So we pull out some stuff. And you're already drinking Coke. What's the best way to do this? Should we just kind of go through and talk about what we're going to drink?
Yeah, I say we pick the lightest and we move to the darkest. As dumb as that sounds, I say that's our order of operation. Whatever sits heaviest on the palate.
Most of these are pretty congruent as far as color. I'm going to put this over here. Nice and so.
You know what? We could grab some more glasses. We could do some Coke for palate cleansers in between.
Yeah. Well,
I like lightest to darkest.
Man,
that is a good logical progression.
I think that puts us with the Dorleys first.
Okay.
So, Dorleys, I believe this is distilled by the Foursquare Distillery Company. Very much more a traditional. Generally, Foursquare, which I don't have any here in the house right now, is going to be a very traditional. It's not post-sweetened, so it's not going to, like, a lot of the rums that are popularized are either just like a silver or white, like Bacardi, which is not aged. It's all pot still and distilled and bottled clean. And then anything that's going to have color is generally aged or barreled or just post-sweetened in additives. So Dorleys is a brand for Foursquare that's a little bit less expensive than those. Whereas like a good Foursquare is going to cost like between $70 and $100 a bottle. This one's probably going to be more in the $40 or $50 range. But it's nice, it's clean, and it's not what you would expect because when you're used to going and get, hey, can I get a rum and Coke? It's a Captain Morgan or a Sailor Jerry. This is going to be much more clean. I'm going to hand it to the Mr. Bartender / Foley artist over here. I'm going to eventually as he prepares the ice.
There we go. 1 cube. One cube per glass.
1 cube to find them, and in the darkness, cool it down.
That was pretty solid.
Yeah, that was a solid. What do we call that? The bottle doink? I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're just going with sipping. Are you giving him the Chiefs glass? You're giving him the
Of
Chiefs
course you are.
We both have Chiefs.
Yeah. And I want to say, like, I wore my Chiefs hat all day. I want you to know that wasn't in honor of you. This is the hat I wear.
That's
Just
just
like
how
a real
Greg,
fan.
That's how Greg dresses. Yeah.
yeah, it's like
Now, the thing I'm surprised you didn't mention, this is National Rum Day.
it is. We were getting there.
Oh,
It
okay.
is. Well, by the
sorry,
time
I ruined it.
By the time
Spoiler
it airs, it would have been National Rum Day.
On the day of the recording. It is also National Roller Coaster Day. So what did we do today? We drank rum and rode roller coasters.
We drank rum at Universal Studios, and let me tell you, nothing Nothing makes Velocicoaster really stand out in your mind like a rum runner.
Like
Or
right before you get on it. Yeah.
No, what do we have? Zombies? Like, what was that? Yeah, it was.
No, it was from Mythos. What was it? The
The
nectar of the gods.
Nectar of the Gods. Yeah, some
yeah.
Poseidon's Fury punch bowl. Whatever.
Poseidon's Kool-Aid. I think that's what we call it.
Yeah.
Very
a
sweet.
heavy, sugary rum drink. And then
Oh,
it's
it
like, hey,
was-
we're going to spin you upside down. This is going to be great.
Yeah, it was. I know
it was
it
either
had
that or the
Malibu's.
couscous. Something wasn't.
I know it was Malibu, and then
Captain. I think it was
Was it Captain?
Malibu and Captain. Yeah.
with a floater of something.
cruising.
Cruising, yeah. And then lots of juices. So it wasn't bad, but it was the Kool-Aid of the drink for the day.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
The zombie I got from the Jurassic little watering hole thing, you had a sip of it. I mean,
that
and
was
it-
a solid zombie.
yeah, that was Purser's Naval Rum and Plantation OFTD.
Yeah, and you could taste the OFTD in that.
So okay, so Plantation, one of our favorites overall.
Yeah.
As an overall distiller, it's one of our favorites. OFTD, officially on the bottle, and the branding will tell you OFTD is the old-fashioned traditional dark. The story is that they knew that they were going for an overproof, but the first time they tasted it, the distiller said, "Oh fuck, that's delicious," and so that's and the bartender that was making the drink, I told, he's like, "Yeah, this one's really good for an overproof," and he started telling me, "Oh, it's this much proof, and this is," I'm like, "Dude." You're trying to explain science fiction to George Lucas right now. And he goes, I don't understand the reference. And he goes,
Let me sing you a space opera.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I can.
So,
Yeah.
so what do we think of Rum 1?
Rum one. So have you tasted it
Yeah,
yet?
it's good.
Okay, so first off, smelling it, it's very traditional. It's not overly sweet. A lot of tobacco in the nose. Definitely. But it's not, I mean, this is subtle. For one of those more traditional non-post-sweetened rums, this is pretty
Yeah.
traditional.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think we determined we would not mix this, I think.
Dorley's is pretty good. A little splash of Coke doesn't hurt it.
No. The cube definitely opens it up.
Yeah. Dorley's is popular for a lot of tiki drinks as well. I know quite a few people that'll, this isn't necessarily one that you have to drink as a sipper. Like, there's a lot of things you can do with it.
Yeah, you don't feel bad mixing it. But it also holds its own against fruit juice. So when you put it into a tiki drink, it holds its own.
Yeah. So as a non-rum drinker, when you drink that, does this kind of defy what your expectations are in a rum?
You could sip this.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing I always find with bourbon, just as a comparison, it's amazing to me the way that like just a drop of water or an ice cube just changes the entire flavor profile. And I think that that's similar, like with this
Absolutely.
as well. But you could absolutely drink this. This is a high quality rum.
Yeah. And it's not even going to be our favorite. I really wish I had some good
Facundo.
Diplomatico Reserve. Oh, Facundo.
The Facundo. Ooh.
There will be a date. Now, Facundo, the really good one's about $400 bottle.
Yeah.
And it comes in a box that had a mom, as Garrick would put it. It's a leather box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's-
So
all of the best liquors come in leather boxes.
Yeah. It's as much
course
as
they
we
do.
disparage Bacardi as a brand, this is actually the Bacardi family's private label,
Yeah.
and it's wonderful. Yeah.
What's
Saving-
the price point on this? Just out of curiosity.
The one we're drinking
Yeah.
is probably $45.
Yeah.
Not terrible for a decent
It's not
high-end
bad.
rum. And that's one of the things, like rum in general is pretty inexpensive to drink compared to a lot of the bourbons. Bourbons, whiskeys, and like it's not uncommon. Like if you get to like a Johnny Walker Blue Label, what's that? That's a couple hundred, 250.
Yeah, for the big bottle, I think that's probably comparable to the Facundo. But I mean, there's some scotches and some whiskeys out there that are
Oh yeah,
$700,
Yeah.
$1,000, whatever. All of rum, I think, just exists in a lower price bracket.
Yeah.
So the absolute top of the line, I can't believe this rum exists. You're at $350.
Yeah.
versus
well,
a
it's like
$1,500 bourbon at a.
The Rondel Barrilito 5-star. That is a $800 bottle.
It is, and I'm going to be honest with you. I would take the Facundo Paradiso over it. That's
Yeah, it's a different experience, but
It's a different experience. I'm just not going to lie. I would go with I would take the Paradiso over it
yeah, okay.
all day long.
And you've had the 5-star?
I have.
We probably talked about this. We were drinking when we talked about it, though. So there we go.
Then it doesn't count.
The other side of that, earlier you were asking us about Club 33 at Disney. That's my Club
There
33
it
vibe.
is. There it is.
So,
That's
before the end of the night, you have to just hold that. Like that is
Oh,
That's
yeah.
like
solid
that's like,
glass.
That's like crystal.
Yeah, that's legit.
that is
That is legit.
solid glass.
Yeah. That's a tumbler.
Yeah.
Yeah, and apparently they don't have them anymore.
That's amazing. Really?
No, it's that when I went last time, they were out of stock. It's not that they were not going to get them, but that particular one is out of stock because I was out there, supposed to go to Club 33 a couple months ago with some other clients and partners in the industry. And I had a request from Garrick, and then, of course, a friend of ours known as Cheese Mule. Both
What
of
was
them-
his name?
Cheese Mule. That's how he's known on that show. is Cheese-
Fantastic.
Great story.
Yeah.
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 He may have been smuggling cheese into Venezuela. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
The cheese mule.
Yeah.
Okay.
And apparently, like, some things are actually worse than drugs. Yeah,
Like Dutch cheese. I don't-
Dutch cheese into Venezuela is kind of like the last straw. You do that,
He was held at gunpoint. There was stuff packed in floor. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a whole
amazing.
thing. Yeah.
yeah. Well, it's not a good thing to do. Lessons learned through our friend Cheese Mule. We love you, Cheese Mule. He's been on the show twice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Probably like twice.
That's like a Locked Up Abroad episode.
Yeah.
You ever seen that show?
I've heard of it. I have not actually watched
I've
it.
seen a lot of those episodes.
And you know what's funny about that is, like, it would almost be beneficial for us to do a different podcast because I don't want to change it. I love this podcast.
You don't want to diminish our brand.
No, it's not about diminishing.
Oh.
I don't want to change this brand into something else because I love what we're building.
Yeah.
But man, anything true crime
Yeah.
in a podcast,
Oh.
you might as well just
would you like to-
automatically start broadcasting with 100,000 videos.
Would you like to be a voice actor on my brother-in-law's podcast?
I could do that.
Yeah, you could.
I could
totally
do that.
Yeah, he's got a true crime podcast.
Why,
and,
yeah, we've had many conversations about it.
yeah,
I think I could do that.
he got a guy out of jail.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, straight
It's
up.
like smuggled him out of jail.
No,
No.
he like solved a mystery and was like
Oh, wow.
acting as an investigative reporter guy, and he ended up he was a star witness in the grand jury trial and blah 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 blah. But I actually got a guy out of jail.
That's incredible.
Episode 1 of the podcast, Framed. Look it up; it's awesome.
That's a podcast name, right?
Framed, yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy. But that stuff sells, you know. People that drink rum and are nerds, that's a niche market.
And solve crimes.
Yeah.
It's like the worst Scooby-Doo episode ever. Get in the van. We're solving mysteries.
Yeah. I would have gotten away with it, too, if it wasn't for you meddling kids and that bartender over there.
That's Felix. He drives the bus.
Yeah.
This was good.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Taster one.
What's next up?
Done.
I don't know. Hold on. I got to chug this last bit of Dorley's. I would go to this 10XO that we did a couple weeks ago. That one was really, we liked that one, if I remember right.
Where? So you have the what did you want to finish up with?
Yeah.
Just point to it.
Yeah, well, so scale of light to dark, would that be this? The Knox and Dunn, or
The Knox and Dunn might be.
let's
a little
do Knox and
or
Dunn
is
first.
there?
Okay.
So yeah, what's the logic here?
Well, I kind of want to end with the El Dorado.
Okay.
That is one of my favorite sippers of all time. That
Wow.
one is just fantastic. Knox and Dunn, we were really surprised by this one because this is a Knox and Dunn. This is a Florida rum, straight barrel. This one, legitimately, when you drink it, you have if I remember right, this was one where no, this is a bourbon. It took us a minute to go like, no, this is
this doesn't feel right.
If you made bourbon out of sugar, this is the rum.
It's a pretty sophisticated operation we have going on here. And Greg.
In the nice glass.
Okay. And where did you buy this one? Like, what's the what was the price point on it?
I don't remember. We bought this one quite a while ago. I mean, and this one came from Nightly Spirits up the street, and I don't know. This was probably like a $35 or $40.
Was this the last new rum that you had there? Because I remember you drank them out of new rum.
Yeah, no, we totally. They have not. I've put a little pressure on them to try and get rum we haven't had, and it's just not worth it for them to stock something just for some stupid podcast to buy a bottle.
Do they have any idea who we think we are?
I asked them about putting us taking one of our Rum and Nerdy stickers and put it on the window, and it was like, I don't know. I'll ask the owner.
So no. That's a lot like, hey, can I just look inside the door at this attraction I helped build?
Not popular enough. See, that's where the true crime podcast comes in, right?
Ooh.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, cheers.
Cheers to the Brooks and Dunn. That's not what this is, but I
Brooks
think
and Dunn.
Even the font on the bottle.
It looks like yeah. I love the nose on this one.
Dunn left the band and did an album with Stevie Nicks. That actually might be a decent album. Stevie Nicks does country.
She could do it.
That's really good.
This one?
Yeah.
I knew it's like when
it's mellow. Like it's I don't know how to describe it, but it does kind of have more of a profile like a bourbon.
Yeah. It's interesting that first sip, it has got a sweetness on the tongue. The sweetness dies out real quick, but it lends to that smoothness.
Yeah, it has an interesting spice. That it has an interesting spice on the nose and then a sweetness on the sip, but
just on the just smelling it itself, but it doesn't have a strong nose at all.
No, it really doesn't.
Yeah. But
comparatively.
the palate, when you taste it, again, it's like this sweetness that gives way to just right, nice, smooth. You know, but you see what we're saying, where we're like, this one is an easy one to confuse for not rum.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. This is absolutely a dark liquor in every way. You know what? You know what I'm getting now? Now that it's sat on my palate, licorice.
Oh, that thing you're not supposed to eat.
Yeah, it'll give you arrhythmia.
Yeah, don't.
Licorice will kill you.
Stop eating licorice.
We're on this crusade. True story. Black licorice will
licorice?
fuck you up.
Yeah.
You like black licorice?
No.
No, it's bad for you.
No,
It's
tastes
disgusting.
like death and hate.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it'll also legitimately, black licorice will cause arrhythmias and kill you.
Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. If you're suffering from heart issues, one of the first things they'll ask you is like, "Hey, do you eat a lot of black licorice?" Yes. Yeah. Okay, stop doing that. That'll solve all of your
See, I
cardiac.
didn't realize it was like an actual health hazard.
No, and like the FDA legitimately wants to put warnings on it, and big licorice, as we've done the very powerful licorice industry is no.
A friend of mine was his doctor told him that, and my buddy's like, "That's you're full of shit." He's like, "No, call the FDA and ask him." And he called him and like, "Oh yeah, we'd love to put a warning label on it."
I didn't realize that we had like a crisis.
No. We're like in the power struggle of lobbyists. It's like you find the NRA, and then there's like NRA, healthcare. And then, like 5 steps above that is big licorice.
Big licorice, yeah.
Yeah, them, and the jelly bean, that burnt crayon jelly bean flavor. That'll shit will kill you.
We're blowing the doors off this licorice thing.
Yeah.
But it's
Nobody
just,
knew.
It's just the black licorice, like the Twizzlers. That's fine. It's just
that's
black
not licorice. That's like a
it's like a candy.
That's red goo that you spin in.
Honestly,
thing,
it's like that shit is made from red dye number 5, powdered sugar, flour, and xanthan gum or some crap like that.
We
That's
could
not
probably
licorice.
turn it into rum with not too much effort.
You know, we need to do one of those like get a white rum.
Twizzlers rum.
Do the Jolly Rancher thing where you put Jolly Ranchers in a bottle and let it dissolve. We need to do that with licorice and make Twizzler flavor.
I did that with a bottle of Sky vodka and watermelon Jolly Ranchers.
Yeah?
Oh my God, was it amazing? You'd sit there and just drink a glass of it. You're like, this is the best thing ever. And then you realize you just drank a glass of vodka.
Yeah.
Science.
It's funny. Science.
I made a volcano out of baking soda. Will you publish my findings?
I just realized you changed your shirt again.
Yeah, did you not notice that we spent like all afternoon walking around in the rain?
Yeah, I forgot that you had planned on like multiple wardrobe changes.
So
Do
having
you do that all the time though? Before each podcast, it's like you just like get into a completely different outfit, or
yeah, this is my podcasting shirt.
yeah,
No,
there was a couple months where I worked from home where honestly I don't think I changed clothes in 6 months.
so
Yeah.
you were
it wasn't
alive during 2020. We get it.
No. Yeah, when we started,
you have the patch.
let's be honest here. You have that patch.
It's mine. Okay,
It is
good.
yours now.
Thank you.
Should sew it to a jacket. We should make them into like pins or like lapel pins or something that we could wear at conferences.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, you're part of Team Enduring Clusterfuck.
So I have to ask, the backdrop is very impressive.
This.
Yes. So was this pre-pandemic, or does this like happen during the like Zoom
This
sort of?
So this room in the house, we had an elliptical and a recumbent bike, and honestly, this
When he
room,
says elliptical, he means a place to hang your laundry.
yeah, that's where
Right,
I
right,
dry my shirts on. I haven't been on that thing in years. That's worse than licorice. That'll fucking kill you. But anyway, so during the pandemic, when I had my own, like, actually right before the pandemic, really, when we started that company that I had with the partnership with the LA company, I needed a place to work, and it wasn't worth me getting an office, like paying for real estate, but I could just do. So this room became my office probably in like 2000, late 18, early 19. And the podcast didn't start until 21. It was like towards the end of the pandemic when people like
it was 2020.
yeah.
Oh, absolutely 2020.
That makes sense because we've been doing it for 3 years.
Because
so-
we were. It was still. Is it okay if I come over to your house?
Yeah.
I don't know. Are we in the same circle?
Yeah,
Hey,
our larger group of
right.
friends,
Yeah.
we all broke up into teams. So all of us, and there's like, I don't know, 6 or 8 of us, we all like, cool, that household and that household, you guys are paired up. So, Garrick and his wife, and then, Sandy and I, we became the team.
It's the pod.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like, cool, you're safe. Which was awesome because we had the pool and we spent a lot of time in the pool during all that.
We're going to social distance in the pool.
Yeah. So at the time when I started working, I had these wireframe racks. I still have the shelves, but it was less nice. And so earlier this year, one of the things that I wanted to do after the holidays was like, you know what, I really want this to look a little nicer. So instead of the wire rack shelves, I switched to this. And also, as my Lego collection is it's gotten to that critical mass where I needed a second room to put them into.
I needed a second room for my Legos.
So, but yeah, this wall.
No, it's cool.
A lot of stories.
Super impressive.
My Theo words in the brick. I told you about the Laugh-A-Gram brick,
Yep.
and these are all of my grand opening. Like from on the right hand side here, these Lennox plates were limited edition Lennox plates, and the Dr. Seuss watch, and that medallion. All of that was from the opening of Islands of Adventure in 1998 that I worked on. On the left side is the Harry Potter Diagon Alley stuff. And actually, this piece here, that is an extra warning sign that is on the dashboard of the Greenwich Bank ride. For the
cool.
like stay in the vehicle kind of warning. That was an extra piece that we had made that they gave me. And then various things like that.
There's some solid stuff up there. There's 1 or 2 items that you will not talk about on air, but yeah.
Yeah, that and that. Both of those down there.
Okay. When we cut, we'll give you the full tour.
Tell you that story. And I don't talk about that.
And that, yeah.
I told you that story. This is riveting for you listeners. I'm just
painting a
going
picture.
to. This is solidifying my legacy as a storyteller.
This is and that. We don't talk about this.
Yeah.
I love good stories. Okay.
This is kind of fun. We talked about Galaxy's Edge, or not Galaxy's Edge,
Star Cruiser.
So Garrett got to go, and all I got was this dumb glass. It's actually
Ungrateful
pretty cool.
swine.
It's actually pretty cool. And I got a pin, too, that's over here somewhere. But he did think of me, which is pretty fantastic.
It's all the classiest swag.
Yeah. It's like, what does my best friend bring me from Star Cruiser? Something to drink out of. It's like, you know me.
Yes.
Yes, you know me.
Yes is the answer for that.
Yeah. But yeah, it's cool shit. It's stuff. It's stuff. It's just belongings.
It's just belongings.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
And again, we were talking about it earlier. It's not the stuff. My favorite thing about it is the stories. You know, as much as I like rum, as much as I like tiki drinks and going to tiki bars, I've intentionally stayed the fuck away from collecting tiki mugs because I know if I go down that path, it's just going to be a shit show.
Yeah. Tiki mugs. That's like the OxyContin of collectibles.
Yeah. And it's going to be like, hey, son, move out. I need your room for mugs. And it's going to go there quick, you know.
Right.
But I have up here one of my favorite tiki bars ever is in Chicago. 3 Dots and a Dash. I don't know if you go to Chicago much.
I do, yeah.
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 Three Dots and a
Need to go to
Dash.
3 Dots.
Yeah. Where is it? What
Right off
neighborhood?
the river. It's like downtown.
It's not right off
main
the river.
loop.
It's a couple blocks north of House of Blues.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's like the river's right there.
yeah.
The river's right there, like 5 blocks away.
Yeah, in the sense of a city, that's right there.
It's your stomping grounds.
The entire loop is 5 blocks away from the river.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like
It's north of the river. North side.
yeah,
Okay.
north side of the river. You could hit it with a rock from the river.
All right. So what is it called again?
Fucking asshole. 3 Dots and a Dash.
Okay.
But that one,
really good.
that top one in the to the right.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I bought it there. My first trip to Chicago, and I'm like, I just went there by myself, and it's funny because the 6 Degrees of Greg, which is a real thing. I randomly will just talk to people, and I'm like, oh, you know so and so, like you. It's like, oh, we went to high school together.
Yeah.
So, and early we were talking. It's like we were trying to find somebody to connect that we both knew, and it turns out the reason we hadn't connected is because we were talking about people we went to high school with, and as soon as I mentioned people I went to grade school, like kids I went to kindergarten with, you know them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm talking to the bartender, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm banging this. I went to this this big tiki conference, whatever, and we're sitting there with parties. Tell me all about it." And I'm like, "Wait, are you talking about Typhoon Tommy?" He goes, "Yeah, you know him?" He goes, "Yeah, it was one of my sculptors when I did Forbidden Journey. He was one of my rockwork sculptors, and when I had my shop, he's like legitimate. It's like one of my favorite painters and sculptors I ever worked with. He's been on the show like 4 or 5 times too, and he's redoing the Mai Kai down in Fort Lauderdale.
He's leading the restoration on a historic tiki bar, probably the most historic tiki bar,
Certainly
in
on the East Coast.
Yeah, in the continental United States.
I think
easily.
I think officially on most of the lists, it's considered the 3rd most important tiki location in the world.
In the world.
Yeah. So, and he's like, during the pandemic, there was a storm down in South Florida, and the roof of the kitchen collapsed in and forced it to close. So they've been completely remodeling it for a couple of years, and he's leading that effort to remain authentic, very culturally sensitive, and he's doing an amazing job. But the bartender knew him, and he's like, "Here's some free drinks, and here's this," and so that mug is to commemorate that night. When we were up there, like last month, whenever we went for the TEA thing, I looked up that mug because they no longer sell that mug. That mug is now a $400 mug, and I bought it for $380. No, I'm just kidding. $60.
Yeah, it's.
But again, it's like $60 for a cup.
You're doing better on that mug than most people are with NFTs.
Well, the other side of it too. It's like my favorite glass to drink out of.
Club 33.
Yeah, this glass was less than that stupid, ugly fucking mug.
It really is a mean-looking dude.
Yeah, but it's also fun. It's cool.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the Yoda mug, which is known as Geeky Tiki.
Yep.
So that's Yoda, not Grogu.
That's Grogu.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
Grogu. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, and my clearly Grogu-centric.
It's a Grogu shelf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fact that you let a few tiki mugs onto your Grogu shelf.
And there's and then Grogu, the metal painting thing up there. For Chris, or no, it was my birthday one year. Sandy went nuts and was like, I got all things Grogu. I got the mug and these collectible figures and that painting. And I think I got a pillow and a T-shirt. I have a really cool T-shirt of Grogu wearing a Chiefs helmet.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it doesn't fit me because I'm all torso when I'm wearing
Yeah.
I don't like Star Wars, but this thing has big eyes. That makes it cute.
Yeah.
Here's Grogu. Oh.
it. Yeah. Baby Yoda wearing a Chiefs helmet. I mean, that's he would
it's
he would be a
adorable. It's
Mahomes
adorable.
fan.
Yeah, he probably would.
Yeah. Certainly Mando would be like, this is the way. This is the way. Did he just pass the ball behind his back? This is the way. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Did he just throw a 170-yard touchdown on a 100-yard field? Is that even possible? Yes, with Mahomes, anything is possible.
When we went to go see that preseason game in Atlanta. At the TEA Explorers event, was that
because we totally planned TEA events around.
So
Chiefs
that was the game when he threw like that 80-yard pass through the air to Tyreek Hill, right?
Yeah.
Across his numbers.
Yeah, and
Across
that was
his numbers.
kind of like the moment when you're like, all right, this
it was
guy's
the
pretty
first
good,
year he was a starter,
right? Yeah, and it was a preseason game,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And we were there.
Which game?
Yeah.
Which game was it? Like in the preseason, was it first?
It was
second,
it was
third?
it was preseason number 1 because it was the first NFL game ever played in a Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Yeah, which we got to see, which was Mahomes' first starting.
Yeah, because it
preseason,
was
but still his first starting game.
Yeah, Alex Smith the previous year, and Alex had moved on, I think, to Washington.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was like we planned a TEA Explorers event. And that circumstantially ended up being scheduled around where the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
Let this be a lesson to all of you. If you are planning events, you have the power to plan the event around things that you want to do.
Yeah. Oops.
Show up and volunteer. That's all I have to say.
But that was great because we actually had an opportunity. We reached out to some of the operational management for Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and they were so gracious. They got us all tickets, $25 a piece. And before the game, we went in and they found a conference room down in the lower section, and they really walked us through the mentality. And you probably like, I'm nodding because I designed it, but they were talking about how, as the city of Atlanta, and we've talked about this many times on this show, we've talked that idea of, for Atlanta, it was important to have a whole section where like the seats are cheaper, the food is cheaper, because they wanted in Kansas City, like, routinely, I'm going to go to a Chiefs game. It's $350. Like, that's more expensive than seeing Paul McCartney, but okay.
Yeah.
And
well, and you also want to have fans in the seats and not necessarily, expense account people that are just there showing off.
Yeah.
It's like, no, we want people out there screaming.
It's an interesting, sort of dynamic though, right? Because you want to attract an audience, that's every fan type, right?
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that, what's fun about our story, Greg, is just the way that we've been able to intersect, professionally, in that, you design, these amazing, thematic experiences, right? And one of the things we've talked about a lot is that, in our world where we design traditional sports venues, NFL stadiums, major league ballparks, major arenas, for, NHL, NBA, across the board. The difference now is that, like, when we used to design a stadium, 15, 20 years ago, it was like, 2 or 3 seating products, right? You would go and you'd sit the entire game, right? Yeah. The way that we design a venue today, it's like a theme park, right? It's like a theme park of amenities and destinations and experiences.
The seat is your entrance ticket.
Yeah. And the great thing is that you've got the super premium seats, right? But if we design a venue well, we're attracting every audience, right? And you have to have affordability, right? You have to have places for underserved audiences, right? And places for non-traditional fans. Because really, the thing that's, not to go off on a tangent here, but the thing that's great about the NFL, right? Just to talk about Patrick Mahomes for a moment. Like, Netflix has done this amazing thing, right, with Quarterback. This sort of
He's
behind
such a
the
great
scenes,
show.
right? And
actually, I never expected that I would be a Kirk Cousins fan.
Yeah, but you became one, right?
Yeah.
And the thing that's great is that what happens in the NFL is that not only is it an incredible in-seat stadium experience, but it's this remarkable content continuum, right? Where the fandom extends into so many different places, where you get to you get these access portals, right, into these people's lives, and that's what every fan wants ultimately, is to be connected in a really meaningful way to the stars on the field. How many times in your life do you get to meet Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady or whoever, right, or Kirk Cousins, right? But you feel like you do through the content, right? And so it's this amazing world building phenomenon that the leagues have done. And the stadium is a really important part of propelling the audience and the fandom, right? Because there's nothing better, candidly, than going to a Falcons game or a Chiefs game on an October night, and when you're in that venue with 75,000 other people, you just can't replicate that. Nothing can replicate that. It's a vessel for so much amazing energy, but it's many things beyond that.
And I would argue, and again, every team is going to argue about why their fan experience is better, but the tailgating experience, because of a town like Kansas City and the barbecue, and you go there, especially like on an afternoon game at Arrowhead, when there are people up there who are setting up their smokers in the parking lot at 6 a.m. and they're there because they know, like, hey, I've already pre-cooked this to an extent, and I'm going to finish it here, and I'm going to do this thing. But it's not just like, hey, I'm bringing 6 of my friends to do this thing. There is a camaraderie in Kansas City of that tailgating experience where you can just walk up and down the aisles and be welcomed in, and your moment. I think we talked about that idea of the momentary friend.
That is every tailgating experience at every game. You're going to meet amazing people that are doing.
And I've gone to a lot of different stadiums, and I've seen games like Jacksonville, great hosts for opposing teams. They're wonderful.
Yeah,
but I've never seen anything like Kansas City.
I can second that. I've never had a bad experience as an opposing team fan in Jacksonville Stadium. I have had terrible times at that stadium because there was no shade anywhere. Inside the venue.
That east side of side of that bowl is like being in a. An air fryer.
My last time there, I went with my dad. My dad was at the Ice Bowl at Lambeau Field, which was like minus 100, in the ambient. And then we went to this game in Jacksonville where it was 110 on the field, and he's like, there is over a 100-degree temperature difference between my coldest game and my hottest game.
Yeah. Well, and even outside of that, we took your dad to Rolling Stone. Was it Rolling Stones?
Yeah, Rolling Stones. Yeah, we went to up there.
Yeah, and we were there on the east side with the sun setting.
It was brutal while the sun was up, but if you go to the greater development, there's YouTube videos for the Jacksonville Stadium, what they plan on doing, and the number one mod that they're doing to that stadium is roof. They're putting a roof on it.
Yeah.
And for us, we do a lot of analysis around what do people enjoy about an experience, and you would be surprised.
Shade.
It's fan comfort. It really is. No, I mean, and the reality is that you can design all the amazing amenities in the world, but it comes down to some really basic things, right? It's legroom, it's comfort, right? It's shade, it's access to things that are very simple, like concessions and restrooms and all those sort of things. You have to just get right? It's like running water and electricity. Like, you just have to get it right. But then you add in all the other pieces and components. But I was just going to say, one of the things that's back to sort of the aspect of like all the wonderful things that happen before an event.
Yeah.
Right. It really goes to like the core of like fans and ultimately like this amazing sort of aspect of the cultural side, right? But it's a ritual, right?
Oh, absolutely.
That's
a great word for it.
Going to a game is an incredible ritual, and it's in many respects, and I will say, for a lot of people, it's almost like a religious experience.
Absolutely.
And it is truly sort of like this incredible thing that is tribalistic, right? I mean, there's a ritual to the game itself, and the things that you do, those moments that lead up to it, and you have a certain sort of ritual for that day that you plan for. It's a Sunday morning, you're packing up your car. There's all these moments of experiences, that are connected to that game, and it truly is it's an amazing phenomenon in people's lives.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's I don't know. There's so much, but like the year the Super Bowl 54 when they won in Miami.
Yeah.
And Sandy and I saw 3 games we went to 3 games. We went to the Jacksonville game. We went to the Thanksgiving weekend Raiders game in Kansas City, and then we went to the Super Bowl. And 3 different stadiums, 3 completely different experiences, and when you look at the way you consume that entertainment, and going back to that broader picture, not just, of course we're Chiefs fans, we're going to talk about that, but when you look at that broader picture and you're like, the difference when everybody's got these micro computers in their hands and you need wireless access points to give them that, and they're able to watch the game and have real-time analytics that they're downloading and streaming from ESPN or NFL Network or whatever.
And 90% of them are checking their fantasy stats as it's going live. So it's not just the game in front of me; it's these other games that are
But it's still that
ether.
Being able to consume that analytics in real time. When you go like, cool, that pass, that receiver just broke 1,000 yards for the season, and being able to get that in real time, because you're not hearing the commentary if you're watching it on TV. You hear the announcer going, do, that's good for Kansas City Chiefs first. And you're playing that game and that participation, but it's still not the same as being able to consume that. So as a consumer of sports entertainment and the food and the beverage and this and that, but bringing that digital component to it, I think all of it really ties down to the importance, and you touched on it really, really well. I love the idea of that tribal, of that ritual, but understanding and touching on the fact that sports is no longer about the team. It's no longer about just watching who scores and all that stuff. It's about the celebrity of the sport.
Yeah.
You and I have had a lot of conversation about the celebrity of sports and how the celebrity of sports differs from, the idea of a sports bar compared to, like a standard sports bar compared to what would be an experiential celebrity of sports experience.
Yeah.
And why that's not the same thing anymore. Yeah. And we've really done a good job of differentiating and creating opportunity like that.
Yeah. And I think it's, it's one of those aspects of like, yeah, there are big personalities like in sports, and that's what people gravitate to. And I think that, what you find, especially NFL is unique because the window is so small. Like it's like the Tom Brady's of the world. That's like, it's a rarity. Most of these players are only in the league for maybe 3-4 years.
Well,
right?
well, I mean, even just as sports are concerned, NFL is kind of the cherry on top of the cake that is your annual sports intake. I mean, a buddy of mine is a huge baseball fan, and I joke with him. I'm like, yeah, so baseball that's only not happening for like 2 weeks a year, because you have preseason and then you have the main season where there's like 186 games scheduled over however many months, and then you go into the postseason and then you get like 2 weeks off, and then it's the next preseason already. It's market saturation as far as the games are concerned. And the NFL, it's you got like 3 months of this, and then it's a special thing, and then boom, it feels really special.
It is, and the one thing I would say is that I think what makes it special is that a lot of it is about the live experience, and one thing I'll always look back on in my career is the moment, like when we had this incredible point of mass disruption in our society, like with the pandemic, and at the very outset of it, as a design practice, right? there was all these doomsday prophecies of like, look, people are just not going to come back to live events, right? They're not going to go back to theme parks. They're not going to go to stadiums. They're not going to consume sports the way that they did in the past. They're just going to sit at home, right? And we're going to be, engaged in virtual experiences, and it's going to be a number of things that are going to keep people away from being together forever.
Yeah.
And, the thing was like, well, no, you just kind of need to open up a history book and sort of look at like every moment of mass disruption in world history has been followed by a renaissance of activity. And, art and culture and engineering and science and architecture and a million things. And if you look now, like at what's happening in our society, Taylor Swift is going to break every record, for a live, musical tour. Live music is completely off the charts, right? Okay, live sports is completely off the charts. The NFL is going to break every single live attendance record, this next season. Major League Baseball attendance is actually up from previous years. The NBA is going to break every record, and what it is it's the testament of the human spirit.
Yeah.
Like we want to be together. Like these live moments that you can share. Like we were talking last night at dinner, there are people that are literally trying to buy tickets to a Taylor Swift concert to go to like places in South America and Europe because they can't find an opportunity here in North America.
Yeah. And
she could sell out every single show multiple nights, 80,000 people because of that live experience. And I think to me, like when you look at the power of what that means, to me it's incredibly exciting, and especially in our world of themed entertainment and sports and these places where people can congregate and be together for these shared moments. To me, it opens up amazing sort of opportunities. But to me, again, it goes back to the sort of testament of the human spirit. It's really exciting.
100%. 100%.
On that note, real fast, I'm gonna pop that Eldorado. This is one of my favorite sippers ever, and I do want to throw this out there too. You know what our favorite episodes are? Our favorite episodes to do, and we talked about this beforehand, is when we don't overthink what we're about to do. But even more than that is those episodes you can tell when we're having fun, when we look up and we're like, shit, we're already over an hour.
We're only on bourbon or rum number 2.
Yeah. And that's the best thing for us, because it's like the conversation happened so naturally that we didn't have to think about it. We just filled an hour. Here's a glass. So again, for us, if we go over on our monthly allocation, it costs me a whole $4. So I'm not asking us to cut this short. I'm just like, hey, we should pay attention to the fact that
we should do.
We're at now.
Yeah, the best of the list.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're going to cut to the Eldorado. This is one of my favorite sippers. It's not my favorite rum, depending on how we use it. Just a little sip. But this is one that I actually...
This is a little darker, the color.
Generally, this is one that I would chill. It's very rare, but I would actually refrigerate this one, honestly. And I don't always... When it's refrigerated, I won't always put the ice cube in it. But Eldorado, it is from Guyana, I think. Look at it'll say on the bottle. I'm pretty sure it's from Guyana.
Yep, Guyana.
Yeah.
Aged 15 years.
Yeah, this is the 15. 15 and 12, they're very similar, but there's subtle differences between the two.
Well, isn't the difference between the 12 and the 15, it's a completely different formula?
Yeah, well, it's not its formula, it's the way it's aged.
The way it's aged.
It's not just the duration, but how it's aged, the barrels, the way it's stored is drastically different. But,
product of Guyana.
This is... when it comes down to it, this is one of my favorites ever. And this is one I won't put anything in. This one I only drink straight. Yeah.
That's nice.
So smooth.
Yeah, it's mellow. Wow, that's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was that again? That's the
Eldorado.
15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not hard to find in most liquor stores.
Yep.
This one, for the 15, I want to say it goes... a little closer to 50, maybe a little over 50, 55.
Yeah,
not terrible on the price.
No,
let me give it the cigar.
You're a cigar smoker.
Oh,
I am. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, on occasion.
So I am as well. On occasion, I might have 2 or 3 a month on average. Not a lot. But we might, like, because once we finish up, you're going to Uber back.
Yeah.
We might. It's going to take a minute to get an Uber. We might need to have a cigar.
I like where the evening is going.
Yeah.
We have a handful of really good rums to pair with cigars, and this is absolutely
This is
one of them.
Yeah.
One of our
What would you pair this with?
the rum.
What type of cigar?
Oh,
I would smoke it because, and Derek's going to laugh because this is my de facto Liga T52.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Liga. Although lately I've been doing, oh Jesus, what's the one I've been? I have to look it up. I'm trying to remember.
I'm a huge Opus X fan. I know the
That's a good one.
Arturo Fuente line is, I don't know. I feel like it's kind of a cop out every time I say it, but it is just such a consistent smoke, both on flavor, draw, across. It just checks all the boxes across the board.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like, well, maybe I could do something cheaper. I could try that one. But there's my go-to, and I love it. So,
yeah.
Interesting. I like, and the Opus X is a good one. I'm trying to think. What are some of the other ones? What's those ones that we used to smoke with John? It was one that
Grey Cliffs.
Grey Cliff. Yeah, that's a good one as well.
They have they have a handful of really good ones in there.
Yeah.
And then the Manowars.
That one's too big for me. That one.
Well, it's of the brand. They have a really good selection. And
I get it.
That
but
specific
every one I've ever had is just too much of a head rush.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that one's
Robusto.
yeah.
Yeah.
I like milds to mediums. That one is a full.
I don't know. I'm a black coffee drinker. Sometimes I really like smoking a chair. Like it's just
Yeah, yeah.
it's just
That
like
one's
a nice leather couch. Like that's like roll
no,
it up.
and that one for me is less a chair and more a tailpipe.
I hate that. Just because you threw up.
Yeah, there was this circumstances I'm not going to go into, but yes, the Man-O-War.
It did you in.
Yeah, it was the wow, you were, what had you been doing when it came to that?
Yeah, no, I get
Not things for the radio.
it was more like, hey, where'd Greg go? Oh,
Yeah,
he's not gonna finish that.
he and Ralph are talking back over there in the corner. It's like, what are they talking about? They're just catching up.
That being said, it was a great smoke.
Yeah. Yeah. And then so my son Riley, like for his 18th birthday, like, what do you want to do for your 18th birthday? And you would think he's like, yeah, me and the friends are gonna go. And he's like, nope. He didn't care about his friends. He's like, I want to go with you and the guys and have a cigar.
Really?
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, cool. So I had bought him a nice Robert Graham shirt.
Yeah.
And we got him a jacket, had it because he, I don't know if you followed in on any of this. He doesn't have a right hand. He was born without it.
Okay.
And so we had the jacket tailored to his arm length, and we go out and we go to Sanford and go to a place, and we all do like haircuts and everything.
Yeah.
And this Executive Cigar Lounge, we're really good friends with the ownership for Executive, and they're like, yeah, come on, we've got this private room in the back called the boardroom, and there's an old time barber chair, and so they brought in a barber, and we're all doing straight razor shaves and haircuts. We had gotten a haircut earlier, but they're like straight razor shaves and everything. And all the regulars and the people that were kind of in our cigar clique, we said, you should come in and celebrate this with Riley. The thing that we ask is bring him a cigar and a story why you think this is a good cigar for him.
Yeah.
And then John had got him this little notepad earlier in the day, the little leather-bound notepad, and the whole thing was, and this is brilliant, it's like everybody had to give him 2 pieces of advice. One was funny and one was serious. And so we went through, and he ended up with like 15 different cigars that night. But there's things like Jason, who is the editor for
Ash Quarterly.
Ash Quarterly, one of the magazine, cigar magazine. The editor came to his birthday party and was like,
That's so cool.
here is a cigar carry, like one of those little 3 cigar
Yeah.
holders, and here's a lighter and a cutter, and like gave him this thing and gave him 3 cigars. And, but everybody's like, hey, here's this and here's this. So he powered through 3 cigars, his first cigars that night, and he powered through 3 of them. And every time we go out, he's just like, he will hammer on these things. And yeah, I kind of got a buzz on that one. That was, the lower third was really like the first third was like, it was okay, but then got to the middle and that really mellowed out. By the time I got to the last third, that man, it really just between the wrapper and the mix, and it's like, I think that's a Cameroon wrapper. And it's like, who the fuck are you? You're
serious.
18 years old. And like, this is insane. And he's embraced it. He's like me.
Yeah.
Like once every month or two, he'll really kind of engage in it.
Yeah.
So he doesn't overdo it. But when he does it, he's passionate.
That's
and he
impressive.
knows.
Yeah. But not to circle back to the experience like we do with everything. There are some really great offerings out there in the cigar experience world. I went to at the Edison downtown Disney not too long ago. They did
Great
a
bar.
cigar cocktail dinner pairing where they had a cigar rep came in and said, okay, these are the cigars that we're going to do this evening.
Right.
And then they had the bartenders came in and they created 3 separate cocktails for the evening based around the flavor profile of the cigars.
Right.
And then the chef came in and did a complimentary dish to each one of the cocktails.
Yeah.
And it was crazy good.
Yeah.
Like just crazy good.
Well, it goes back to the aspect of kind of the ritual, right? Of the making too. And it really is such a beautiful, craft. Like when you watch the rolling of a cigar, right? Like it is a beautiful sort of like, creation, right? When you watch, selecting the leaves and there is really an art form, right, to how you sculpt the cigar.
Yep.
And then
Yes.
and then as you said, you're pairing it with a certain profile. It's a wonderful sort of ritual,
Yeah,
right, in a lot of ways.
absolutely.
And I recall like when I was in I studied abroad in Italy. I lived in a little hill town in Italy, Castiglione and Fiorentino. So if you've ever seen Life is Beautiful, that Roberto Benigni movie,
Yeah.
right? So it was filmed right there, right?
Wow.
The entry, the scene, like when they're going down the middle of the
Every
hillside,
single story he tells just make
it was really cool.
like like you're giving Garrick a run for like the best friend spot. You like,
Oh my gosh.
Listen.
you're pretty cool.
It was fun. It was fun. But the whole where I was going with
Garrick,
this
you're
was
still number 1. I'm just kidding.
you're not going to be replaced. But when the thing that I remember from that was like the whole aspect of like we would go have these meals like on Sunday evenings, and there were families that we would go have meals with, and this one family was always so fun. We'd have dinner, and then the father would go and we would have a glass of, or we'd have a bottle of this dessert wine, and then he would make another bottle and put it in the this distilling cave or whatever they had, and it was like this whole ritual of the making and the process of it. And there's something about that's like that's memorable, but it's this whole aspect of like you're consuming something. There's something that's memorable about that. Right. So I don't know. It just struck something as you were talking about that.
Absolutely, and it makes you appreciate it on the front end as well.
Yeah.
It's not just grab that one off the shelf and burr. It's like no. This is everything that's going into the creation of that event. No,
Yeah.
I love that.
I don't know. It's the whole sort of we live in this world, right, of like all this artificiality and a million things with AI and all but the aspect of like crafting something is you can't ever lose that.
No,
right?
absolutely.
So, but yeah, I don't know. When we when we design, and I'm sure you have, you guys use technology every day, right? And I always tell our people, like when we're in our studio environment, like get it out of the box, like because especially the young people in our studio, like we're working in Adobe Illustrator and the Creative Suite and Revit and AutoCAD and a million other things digitally. But one of the most important things that I find is that one, the critical conversations are essential, right? You've got to be in a collaborative design environment. That was one of the things that we encountered during the pandemic, is that people, when we were away from the office, away from, physically being together, we lost the ability to sort of like teach, and mentor, right?
Yep.
And sort of allow people to learn through osmosis, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we forgot the essence of like, and the importance of like pinning things up, drawings, right? And the things that are really important, like for me, like when I teach a young person, it's like, let's gather around, let's lay this out on the table and let's draw and talk about it, right? And it's an aspect of like, really, like, again, the cigar making is one thing, but putting a piece of pen to paper and physically drawing something, there are aspects of like the way it activates the human brain, right? That's really important to learning.
Well,
and right?
I'm gonna talk about a process that so many people that are listening, that are even in our industry the way it is now, the tracing paper. That whole, you have a whole roll of tracing paper, and you just tear off a big piece and lay it over the drawing, and you sketch on top, and then you wad it up, throw it away, and then you grab another piece. And that iterative thing with the tracing paper over the drawing, that is such a powerful design tool. That is not practiced. That design shred, that...
Back in the day, coming back from a meeting with just layers of tracing paper and being like, hey, we need to draw that now.
Yeah, turn this into a package.
Yeah, make this 3D.
And it's not something that is vetted. Like, and there's so many digital tools that do the same thing, but it's not that text. It's not that tactile, visceral. Like, I'm in the moment doing this thing, and you got your red pencil and your black pencil and your like, it's not the same thing.
Absolutely. And even you were talking about being in the same place with your team, just even speaking with your hands or describing a thing and how you want it to look, and just you can't get that over a Zoom window. Like being in the same room with with a team in that collaborative environment, it's body language, what you're doing on pen and paper on the thing, on a whiteboard, pinning stuff up, all that is so important.
Yeah, we and we're not unique to this, but I think that like, that has been one of the most essential things for us is as we've all returned, it is that aspect of being together. And the one thing that I find that's fascinating is like, we always thought it was going to be difficult for the young people to come back. One of the things that we found is that so many young people, especially those that are coming right out of school, like they actually don't want to be in a place where they're going and working virtually. Like they want to be in like a live collaborative environment.
I'm going to throw this out there too. Like I wish, because like I know the week of SATE, I'm going to Kansas City on Sunday, and I think you're already booked. You can't get up there until Tuesday, I think.
Yeah,
right?
I'm in like Tuesday morning.
I wish that you had more time there, because like your guys' space is so phenomenal.
Yeah,
that space that you're in with like that stadium seating area.
Yeah.
And that like there's so much kind of, like, lack of a better way to put it, there's so much Google headquarters shit going on there in regards to creating and fostering a space that you kind of want to be in. You really like, it really fosters this feeling of team and creativity and thought process and like really wonderful space.
It's really fun. I've been lucky. I mean, I've been there 19 years, and it's one of those things that's been. The thing that I love is that it's always evolving. I call it the beehive. It's just like when people come because it's just like it's just buzzing with energy, and creativity. And the thing that I've always liked about it, and I think this is like true for any good company, is that you're always in a state of experimentation, right? Like you're in this state of perpetual experimentation, because anything good that's happening is not happening today. It's happening because you're thinking about what's happening 5-10 years, in front of you, right? And I tell our people every day, it's like the one thing you can do is engage in some form of meaningful design thinking and push boundaries, no matter what it is. And don't be afraid to fail. There was a great conversation last night that we had at dinner around the value of failing. And the reality is that you're going to fail 100 times before you have a breakthrough. That's the reality. I mean, I've designed so many buildings, hundreds of buildings that have never been built. I've learned something from every single one of them that has led to the next breakthrough moment.
Well, and I've said for years and years and years, it's failing doesn't define you. What defines you is the thing you do immediately after your failure.
Yeah.
Like how,
That's so true.
Like what is that next step for you? Like, do you say, I've identified with what failed and you learn from it and move on and you make it better? Do you try and, like, some people like, I'm just going to sweep it under the rug. I'm going to walk away from it. I'm going to hide. That's embarrassing. No, you embrace those failures. You learn from them.
It's, you learned what didn't work.
Yeah.
Moving on.
And it's not just in the design process, in life in general.
Yeah.
I screwed up. Own it. Don't hide from it. Own it and say, you know what? I think when you look at life like that, it's not just the lessons learned and things, but it's also gaining you something. It's one of those things that nobody will ever give you, and all you can do is lose it. That's integrity. And owning that and moving on from it.
Yeah.
That shows a sense of character. My thoughts.
No, you do, and you have to have the courage to try. And I think that it doesn't matter, what industry you're in, right? And it doesn't matter if you're Kobe Bryant, right? I mean, the reality is that Kobe Bryant missed more shots than he made. That's just the reality of it, right? You got to take the shot. And it just, and I think in our profession, that's the same sort of approach that you have to take. And
absolutely.
And the reality is that any